I'm Adam, 27, and I've been with my girlfriend, Mia, 25, for almost 4 years. We moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a bustling city neighborhood a few months ago, our first time living together. Mia is the kind of person who lights up any room, funny, warm, and sharp enough to win any debate. Her nerdy side is what drew me in. She's always deep into fantasy novels, video games, or her biggest passion, Dungeons & Dragons. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, where her animated talk about a book series I loved broke through my usual shyness. I'm not great at starting conversations, but Mia's laugh made it easy, and we talked for hours like we'd been friends forever. We started dating soon after. In those early days, movie marathons, hikes through nearby trails, and kitchen disasters trying to make sushi build a bond one thought was unbreakable. Mia introduced me to Dungeons & Dragons about 6 months into our relationship. She's played in a weekly online campaign for years, a close-knit group of 5, 2 college friends, Jenny and Mitch, and 2 online players, Sarah and Joe, meeting every Thursday night on Discord. They've been together since Mia's sophomore year, bonding over shared campaigns and late-night chats. I never played a tabletop game before, and the rules, dice rolls, character sheets, role-playing a fantasy hero, felt like learning a new coding language. Mia was patient, inviting me to a few sessions as a guest player, walking me through creating a dwarf fighter. But I stumbled through, feeling awkward pretending to be someone else. Casting spells or bargaining with imaginary kings just didn't click. I bowed out after 3 tries, and we switched to Baldur's Gate 3, hoping a video game would help me get her world. I liked the visuals for a while, but I got bored fast. Mia, though, was hooked, raving about her elf rogue's quests and her in-game romance with Asterion, a vampire with a tragic backstory. I didn't care about the game, but her excitement was contagious. I'd listen to her stories, ask questions, and smile at her joy, happy she had something that made her so alive. We had our shared passions, cooking experiments, hiking, sci-fi shows, but D&D was her space, and I was fine with that. Our apartment's small, but feels like home, tucked in a lively city block with coffee shops, dive bars, and street musicians filling the air. The second bedroom is our office, where we both work part-time. Mia is tackling her master's in environmental science, juggling classes and research, while I'm in tech support, fixing software bugs for a remote company. We share a wide desk cluttered with Mia's D&D manuals, dice trays, and my stack of coffee mugs. During her game nights, I give her the office. She plays with headphones on, lost in her fantasy world, while I chill in the living room with Netflix, play Mario Kart on my Switch, or grab drinks with coworkers at a bar nearby. After sessions, Mia would bounce out, eyes sparkling, telling me about her group's adventures, slaying a dragon, solving a cursed riddle, or their bard's hilarious failed seduction of a goblin. I'd nod, laugh, and ask follow-ups, even if the game's appeal was lost on me. Her stories were less about D&D and more about her happiness, and that's what mattered. About 2 months ago, something shifted. Mia started locking the office door during her D&D sessions. At first, I barely noticed. Maybe she wanted focus or didn't want me interrupting a key moment. But it became a pattern every Thursday, and it started to bother me. We've always been open with each other, no walls. We share passwords, leave phones on the kitchen counter, and talk about everything. Work frustrations, family quirks, dumb TikTok trends. The locked door felt like a secret, something new and unexplained. I tried to shrug it off, telling myself I was reading too much into it, but the doubt grew. Why lock the door for a game with friends she's known forever? Was she hiding a conversation, a person, something? I hated feeling suspicious. Mia's never given me a reason to question her, but the locked door became a puzzle I couldn't solve. The more I thought about it, the worse it got. I started wondering if someone in the group was crossing a line, or if Mia was sharing something she didn't want me to hear. My last relationship, 5 years ago, ended when my ex lied about work calls that were really late-night chats with someone else. I thought I'd healed from that, but the locked door dragged those old fears back. I'd lie awake after Mia's sessions, hearing that click in my head, wondering if I was being naive. I kept telling myself Mia wasn't like my ex, but I needed to know for sure. One Thursday, about a month ago, I did something I'm ashamed of. While Mia was playing, I sat in the hallway outside the office door. It sounded pathetic, but I was desperate for answers. With her headphones on, I could only hear her side of the Discord call. At first, it was typical D&D, dice rolls, giggles, talk about fighting monsters, or navigating traps. I felt stupid, crouched on the hardwood floor, my knees aching, but I stayed. One week, I sat there for 4 hours, barely moving. The next, over 2. I knew it was wrong, crossing a line, but each session made me more convinced something wasn't right. 3 weeks ago, I heard something that broke me. Mia's voice softened, not her usual game banter, but tender, emotional, saying, You know I love you, so I want to help you save your family. It was the same tone she used when she first told me she loved me, after a late-night hike where we watched the stars. She went on for 15 minutes, her words warm and intimate, talking about trust, connection, and standing by someone. My heart sank, my hands trembling. It wasn't just words, it was the way she said them, like they came from her core. When the conversation ended, the game shifted back to dice and plans, but I was a wreck. All I could hear was, "I love you," aimed at someone else, looping in my mind. After the session, Mia came out, headphones around her neck, still buzzing from the game. I couldn't hold it in. I admitted I'd been listening outside the door and heard her tell another guy she loved him, saying he was the only one who got through to her. I said it felt like cheating, like she'd crossed a line in our relationship. Mia's face went from shock to frustrated. She said I'd completely misread it. It was roleplay, her elf rogue character talking to another player's character, part of the campaign story. She explained that diving into the romance made her character's arc more compelling, just drama for the game's narrative. She insisted it wasn't real, that her character wasn't her, and it was nowhere close to cheating. I pushed back, saying it didn't matter if it was a game. She was saying those words to a real person, not a scripted NPC like Asterion in Baldur's Gate. The softness in her voice, so close to how she spoke to me, hurt more than I could explain. It felt personal, like something meant for us was being shared. Mia got upset, saying I'd violated her privacy by eavesdropping. She said she locked the door because role-playing felt vulnerable and she worried I'd walk in and think it was silly, especially since I didn't like D&D. She'd done it at her parents' house too, before we lived together, to focus without interruptions. I apologized for listening in, my voice shaking, but I said the locked door didn't make her romantic talk okay. She doubled down, saying she hadn't done anything wrong, it was just a game, and I was blowing it out of proportion. I struggled to put my feelings into words. Mia's the first person I've ever been completely open with, the only one I've let see every piece of me, my fears, my dreams, my dumb insecurities. When she told me she loved me, her voice, her warmth, felt like something sacred, just ours. Hearing her use that same tone with someone else, even in a game, made me question everything. Was she faking it with me? Did she feel something for this guy? I didn't know, and the uncertainty was killing me. The next week was tense. We went through our routine, cooking dinner, watching shows, splitting chores, but a heavy silence lingered. I'd catch Mia looking at me, like she wanted to say something, but we both held back. I couldn't stop replaying her words, wondering if I was losing her. My ex's betrayal kept creeping into my thoughts, making me doubt my instincts. Was I being unfair? Was D&D just a game, and I was making it bigger than it was? I'd sit in our living room, staring at the TV, barely hearing it, feeling like an idiot for letting this shake me so much. Mia seemed distant too, spending more time on her phone, maybe texting friends or scrolling to avoid me. It felt like we were drifting, and I hated it. Finally, I couldn't take the tension anymore. After dinner one night, the dishes piled in the sink, I asked Mia to talk. I said I supported her hobbies, always had, but as her boyfriend, I felt some things, like that romantic tone, should be reserved for me. Hearing her talk that way to another guy, even in a game, made me feel small, invisible, and I couldn't keep pretending it was fine. I said I was okay with D&D, but I wanted her to stop locking the door and stop the romantic roleplay. I wasn't trying to control her, just asking for a boundary that made me feel secure. Mia pushed back, bringing up how I didn't mind her Baldur's Gate romance with Asterion. I said it wasn't the same. Asterion's a fictional character, just code and voice lines. In D&D, she's saying these things to a real person on the other end of the call, and that's what hurt. Mia called me possessive, saying I was trying to dictate how she could enjoy her hobbies. I said she was right that I couldn't tell her what to do, but if she couldn't see why this mattered to me, I wasn't sure we could keep going. My voice cracked, and I felt exposed like I was begging. Mia got mad, said we'd talk when I wasn't so emotional, and left for school the next morning, her backpack slung over her shoulder. I sat alone, replaying our fight, wondering if I'd gone too far. My feelings felt real, but were they fair? Am I overreacting for confronting her about this? Relevant comments. Commenter, 1low_flight_3701. You're overreacting, but I understand why you're hurt. Dungeons & Dragons roleplay can be intense, and hearing romantic stuff out of context would sting anyone. Locking the door is common. Role-playing is vulnerable, and it's easy to feel silly if someone overhears. Eavesdropping and accusing her of cheating was a double blow. You broke her trust, then hit her with a serious accusation, so she's probably too defensive to hear your feelings. If you'd asked about the lock or learn more about D&D first, you might not be in this mess. Want a relationship after this? You crossed the line here. OP's response. I know I messed up, maybe big time, and I'll apologize for eavesdropping. But I can't just be okay with her acting out a romantic relationship with someone else. If I apologize and drop it, I'll feel like I'm sharing her emotional side, if that makes sense. I don't want to be a prude, but hearing her say, I love you romantically to another guy, even in a game, hurts too much. Commenter 2. Not overreacting. Your feelings are valid. Hearing your girlfriend say romantic things to someone else, even in Dungeons and Dragons, would make anyone uncomfortable. It's not just about the game. It's about emotional boundaries. The locked door looks suspicious, especially without an explanation. Eavesdropping wasn't great, but her dismissing your feelings doesn't help. You two need to talk calmly about trust and what's okay in the game. Maybe ask to sit in on a session to understand it better. Opie's response. Thanks for getting where I'm coming from. I feel bad about eavesdropping, but the locked door and her tone really threw me. Sitting in on a session sounds like a good idea. I'll bring it up when we talk again. I just want us to be open with each other. Commenter 3. You're overreacting. Dungeons and Dragons is storytelling, like acting in a play. Her character's romance isn't real. Locking the door is normal. Roleplay feels exposed, and she might have worried you'd judge her since you don't like D&D. Eavesdropping and calling it cheating was way out of line. You're letting insecurity cloud your judgment. Apologize, learn about D&D, and trust her. If you can't handle her hobbies, that's your problem. Opie's response. I hear you, and I'll apologize for listening in. That was wrong. But it's not just insecurity. Her saying, I love you, in that tone felt too real, and it's hard to shake. I want to support her hobbies, but I need our relationship to feel special. Commenter 4. Not overreacting. The locked door would raise red flags for anyone, and hearing romantic talk would hurt, game or not. Eavesdropping was a mistake, but it came from confusion. Mia dismissing your feelings instead of explaining makes it worse. Why didn't she tell you about the role play up front? Set clear boundaries. Maybe no romantic role play or an open door policy. Talk it out, but don't ignore your gut. Opie's response. The locked door is what started it. It felt so unlike her. I wish she'd mentioned the role play earlier. I'll suggest no romantic stuff or keeping the door open when we talk. Thanks for the perspective. Update. 2 days later, May 17th, 2025. Hey everyone, it's Adam with an update. Your comments helped me see I might have overreacted and definitely screwed up by eavesdropping. A few of you suggested asking Mia to keep the office door unlocked and let me sit in on a Dungeons and Dragons session to understand the game and feel better about it. That felt like a fair way to move forward, so I decided to try it. On Friday, when Mia got home from school, I made her favorite dinner, homemade pizza with extra cheese and pepperoni, our go-to for serious talks. The smell of fresh dough filled the apartment, and I hoped it'd set a good vibe. Mia started by saying she needed an apology for me listening in and not trusting her. I didn't hesitate. I said I was wrong to eavesdrop, that it broke her trust, and I was genuinely sorry. My voice was steady, but I meant every word. That softened her, and she sat down at our tiny kitchen table, ready to listen. I explained calmly that hearing her say romantic things like, I love you to someone else, even in a game, really hurt me. I said I was sorry for how I handled it, but my feelings were real, and we needed to work through them together. I suggested a compromise. I'd work on trusting that D&D is just a game, but I'd like her to keep the door unlocked and let me sit in on a few sessions quietly so I could see the context. I promised not to interrupt, not to overreact, and to talk privately if anything bothered me. Mia looked relieved, like she'd been bracing for me to ask her to quit D&D or break up. She said she was okay with me sitting in, but needed to check with her group first, since it was their shared space too. She explained more about why she locked the door. It wasn't about hiding, but about getting into the headspace for roleplay. She'd done it at her parents' house before we lived together, even before her character's romance started, to avoid her mom or brother barging in. But she admitted that, in our apartment, it might have looked suspicious without context. I nodded, feeling a bit lighter, and we finished dinner with a tentative sense of hope, even joking about how I burned the pizza crust again. That night, though, things took a turn. Mia was glued to her phone, getting constant Discord notifications, her face growing more stressed with each ping. It went on for hours, well past midnight, her fingers typing furiously. I asked if everything was okay, and she said, maybe not, but let me handle it. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. Her voice was tense, and I didn't push, but I barely slept, my mind racing with possibilities. Was the group mad? Was someone causing trouble? Saturday morning, Mia looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, as we sat with coffee in our living room. She laid it all out. When she asked her D&D group about me sitting in, everyone was fine with it. Jenny, Sarah, and Mitch all said it'd be cool to have me observe, maybe even join as a guest again. But Joe, the guy whose character her elf rogue was romancing, flipped out. He said he wouldn't feel safe role-playing with a stranger in a room and refused to play if I was there. Mia explained that the whole point was for me to see their character's dynamic, including the romance, to understand it was just a game. But Joe dug in, saying I was violating his boundaries and disrupting the group's intimacy. Mia pushed back, saying it was a reasonable request, but Joe wouldn't budge. Then things got weirder. Joe sent Mia a long private message on Discord, and she showed me the screenshots, her hands shaking. He said he cared about her deeply, that it hurt him to see her dim her light for a controlling, abusive boyfriend who stifled her creativity. He said she deserved someone who'd let her shine, heavily implying he was that guy, and rambled about how women like her always pick selfish jerks over wonderful men like him. He wrote about feeling a connection through their character's romance, like it meant something more. It was so over the top, like a bad rom-com villain, that I almost laughed, but it was more sad than funny. Mia said she'd never seen this side of Joe. He'd always been quiet, maybe a bit intense, but never like this. Jenny, the group's cleric player, messaged Mia separately, saying Joe's obsession with the romance was sucking up game time and making her uncomfortable. She thought Mia was really into it, since Mia's roleplay was so convincing, but now that it was an issue, Jenny wanted to speak up. She called Joe creepy and said she'd noticed him lingering in voice chats after sessions, trying to talk to Mia alone. Sarah, another player, echoed Jenny, saying Joe's focus on the romance fell off, like he was too invested. Mitch, the dungeon master, also reached out, saying Joe had messaged him, demanding I be banned from violating the group's intimacy, and urging Mitch to convince Mia to drop my request, or drop me entirely. It was bizarre, like Joe thought he had a claim over Mia's life. The group canceled their next session to sort out the mess. Mia hadn't responded to Joe yet, and I told her I wasn't mad about some guy crushing on her. She's incredible, so it's no shock. What mattered was her feelings, and Joe's messages made it clear she wasn't into him. I said the locked door, in hindsight, did look suspicious, and maybe she didn't realize how it had come across. Mia nodded, saying she locked it to focus like at her parents, but agreed that if any game dynamic made her feel the need to lock the door, she should tell me up front. I promised to trust her to be open and never eavesdrop again, and I'd ask directly if I wanted to listen in. Mia decided to end her character's romance with Joe's character, saying it wasn't worth the drama, and she'd be more selective about in-game romances going forward, sticking to lighter dynamics or NPC interactions. That night, Joe sent another message, furious that Mia hadn't replied. He said she'd die alone with cats, because I'd leave her when she lost her looks. Wild, since he's never even seen her in person, only heard her voice. Mia blocked him and sent the screenshot to Mitch. The group met on Discord, and Mitch kicked Joe out, no debate, saying his behavior was unacceptable. Jenny and Sarah backed it, and even quiet Sarah said she felt relieved. Mia apologized for not noticing Joe's red flag sooner. She thought his intensity was just passion for the game. We agreed that any in-game stuff she wouldn't be comfortable doing in front of me probably wasn't worth doing. Things aren't perfect, but we're talking openly now. Mia's group is planning their next session without Joe, and she's excited to get back to playing. I'm still a bit uneasy, but I feel better knowing we're on the same page. I'm planning to sit on a session soon, just to see how it all works, and maybe I'll even try playing again, though I doubt I'll stick with it. Am I overreacting for still wanting her to keep the door unlocked going forward? I think we're in a good place, but I'd love your thoughts. More comments. Commenter 5, familiar, Barracuda 43. Not overreacting. The locked door would make anyone suspicious, and Joe's messages prove your instincts were right. His feelings weren't just in-game. Eavesdropping was a misstep, but Mia dismissing your concerns at first didn't help. Her agreeing to keep the door open and end the romance shows she's trying. Keep talking, but don't ignore that Joe validated your worries. OP's response. Thanks for the support. Joe's messages were a shock, but they showed I wasn't crazy for feeling off. Mia's working with me now, and the open door plan feels like a good step. We'll keep communicating. Commenter 6, P-Buns. Not overreacting. Your feelings about her role-playing romance are totally valid. I play Dungeons & Dragons and would be uncomfortable if my partner was flirting in character with someone else at the table. The locked door made it worse. Eavesdropping wasn't ideal, but Joe's creepy messages show why you were uneasy. Glad you two sorted it out, and she's open to changes. OP's response. Hearing from another D and D player helps a lot. It's not just me. Joe's reaction made things clearer, and Mia's willingness to adjust feels good. I'm hopeful we can make this work. Thanks. Commenter 7. You're overreacting. Dungeons & Dragons roleplay is like acting. Her character's romance doesn't mean she's into the guy. Locking the door is standard for players to feel safe being vulnerable. Eavesdropping and making it about cheating was unfair. Joe's a creep, sure, but that doesn't mean you were right to spy. Trust her or let her go. OP's response. I get that roleplay's like acting, but hearing her say those things hit hard. I shouldn't have eavesdropped, and I've apologized. Joe's behavior showed there was more to it, though. I'm trusting her now, and we're setting boundaries together. Commenter 8. not overreacting. Joe's messages prove your concerns weren't baseless. He was way too invested. The locked door was a red flag, and Mia should have explained the roleplay sooner. Eavesdropping was wrong, but you owned it. Her agreeing to transparency is a good sign. How's the group dynamic now without Joe? Opie's response. Joe's exit was a relief, and Mia says the group's more relaxed now, planning their next session. The locked door was a misunderstanding, but we're clear on openness going forward. Thanks for the perspective. Commenter 9. Info. Why didn't Mia tell you about the romance plot earlier? And how long has Joe been in the group? Did she ever notice anything odd about him before? Opie's response. Mia said she didn't think to mention the romance because it was just part of the game, like her Baldur's Gate stuff. Joe's been in the group for about a year, and she never noticed anything weird until his messages. Looking back, she thinks he got too attached during their character storyline. Commenter 10. Not overreacting. The locked door and romantic roleplay would make anyone question things, and Joe's unhinged messages show you were right to worry. He crossed lines. Eavesdropping wasn't great, but you apologized and Mia's meeting you halfway. Keep the communication open, and you'll be fine. Opie's response. Thanks for backing me up. Joe's messages were a wake-up call, but Mia's willingness to work together helps a lot. We're keeping things open now, and I'm feeling better about it. Commenter 11. You're overreacting. The locked door was about her comfort, not secrecy. Dungeons & Dragons players often need space to get into character. Joe's behavior is on him, not Mia. Eavesdropping and escalating to cheating was a leap. You're lucky she's still talking to you. Work on your trust issues before you push her away. Opie's response. I see why the door might have been about comfort, but it fell off without explanation. I was wrong to eavesdrop and jump too far with a cheating accusation. I've apologized. Joe's actions showed I wasn't totally off base, though. We're working on trust now. Commenter 12. Not overreacting. Your gut picked up on something real. Joe's messages prove he was crossing boundaries. The locked door didn't help, and Mia should have been upfront about the roleplay. Eavesdropping was a bad move, but her initial dismissal made it worse. You two seem solid now. Any plans to join session? Opie's response. Joe's messages validated my unease, and I'm glad Mia is open to changes. The locked door was a misstep on her part, but we're past it. I'm planning to sit in on a session soon, maybe even play a bit, though D&D is still not my thing. Thanks.